On this episode of the People of Pearland podcast.
I was working on a raptor project, a beaver project, and the Wolverine project.
Raptor?
Yeah, like falcons and
Oh,
hawks.
I was like, are there dinosaurs? Like, is there something we need to be worried about here?
Hey.
Stay tuned for more. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of the People of Pearland podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lee, and we have with us Joe Calderon. He just waved. I don't know why he waved. And a very, very special guest, Officer CJ Ehlinger. You go by CJ?
I do.
Or you go by Officer Ehlinger?
Either way.
Okay, I have this question. I don't know why I've never asked this. Why do officers, why do they do last name basis thing? What's the...
I think it's probably just
it's like
extension of military
or?
thing. Yeah, and this is what's on our vest and our uniform. So, also, if you've got a lot of Michaels or Stevens, then the last name's usually a little more unique than first name. So
I'm trying to think if we have a lot of Michaels or Stevens.
Johns.
Oh, yeah, we have so many Johns.
So what do y'all do? Huh? You come up with nicknames?
Oh, so yeah. So no, we do because we have. Another Josh. So we have two Joshes in our group. So he goes by Hybe. His last name's Heiberger.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. My email is joelee@pearlandtx.gov because Jennifer Lee got here before me and she took J. Lee, which I still hold against her. That's not her fault. But I want J. Lee. So they call me Joe Lee.
That's right. And I get called Josh all the time. Which is
you don't. For real?
I do, yeah. On emails.
So you're Jolie, you're Joe.
Yep.
And I'm Carla Joe.
Oh man,
Carla Joe.
That's cool.
Family name or just?
Carla isn't. Carla was my mom's best friend's name growing up, and then Joe's my dad's mother's middle name.
Oh, so, that's very cool.
Cool. Yeah.
I got biblical names: Joshua, Father Battle of Jericho. Yeah. David, King David. Oh, yeah. Very religious. We're also hunters, so we get That's the.
I don't think I ever realized your middle name.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
Joshua David.
I worked with another Joshua David before.
What?
Yeah, that's
I bet their family was religious too.
They were. Yeah, they were.
So from Pearland?
Yes. Yeah, I was born here.
That's right. Because I know we know this, but we talked about this. I know your cousin, one of your cousins.
Yes.
Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
She and I graduated high school together.
Oh, cool.
Holler.
Nice.
Class of...
01.
Just aged you.
Yeah, no, I'm old. We've established this. Yeah, class of 01. Proud Pearland Oiler. Joe as well.
Yeah.
Class of 08.
PHS or DOS?
Yeah, PHS was the only one here.
What class were you?
07. I wasn't too far behind.
Oh, yeah, 08. Holy. What?
How? Man, Pearland High School was so big back then.
Yeah, it was before
I would see people every day in the hallway that I'd never seen before.
Same.
Passed me. Who was
that? And if you were in something, you were all I was in band, so that's all I hung out with. So, that was before Dawson was around.
Yep. Yeah,
that was crazy. Like 1,004 kids in my class.
We had 670. The ninth grade center. What do they call that now?
Turner.
No, the one next to it.
South. Well, there was South and the ninth grade center was next to it.
It was that.
No, the Cersei. Thank you. The Cersei. It's the one attached to Pearland High School.
Oh,
back
yes,
in the day.
yes.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
So they were building that my freshman year.
Gotcha.
So it was the old campus, like the darker red brick building. Yeah. And I remember being in a science class, like on that corner, and you could hear all the construction going on.
Yeah.
And then my sophomore year, I think they opened that building and then converted that into a ninth grade center.
Huh. You are old.
I am old. I told you. But I'm aging very, very well.
Yeah, that's
right. Band, choir. I heard, tell me if this is true or not, that you were the first female football player.
That's not true. There was another gal that played. She was a kicker, and she was the class ahead of me. I was the first female to score a touchdown for Pearland High School. Maybe that was a confusion. Yeah,
that's huge. So running back?
Quarterback. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And then, after 9th grade, the guys get bigger, and it was hard for me to see over the line downfield. So,
So, but do you still like football? I mean, was that that's your sport of choice? Or
it was until I got to college and found out about rugby, which is by far a more superior sport.
Huh. Yeah. There was this very, very, very brief period of time where I thought I wanted to play rugby. And then a friend of mine played for a Houston league, and I met some of his friends, and I was like, I can't keep up with these guys. They're
rowdy.
They're dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one dude, I kid you not, he took a hit so hard, he was permanently paralyzed. His right arm was paralyzed. And the injury, when he went into the hospital, they said it looked like a bad car accident. And it was a head-on hit. He tried to take a dude down that was like twice his size. And his party trick was he'd give you a high five, but he'd have to wind up. You know, he'd have to like get his arm going.
Goodness.
And he'd swing it around until you could get a high.
That's terrible.
It's a pretty good party trick.
They're a fun group, though.
Yeah.
And slightly intimidating. So
it's a great sport. What I loved about it, I did, at Texas A&M. It's a cool sport. One of my favorite things about it is there's a position for all different body types, and different levels of speed too. So you need tall people, you need slower, bigger people. There's just a whole bunch of different skills that go into it. And so also you can't win a game with just like a star quarterback or a really good hitter. You have to have a pretty well-rounded team to win a game.
And it seems
like
the teamwork, because it's so much faster paced than football.
Right.
Your teamwork has to be so much more aligned because all the strategy's happening on the field, on the pitch, all the time. Yeah,
fitness is a big deal for everybody. You got to be really fit because it keeps going. Even if somebody gets injured on the field, you just play around them unless they're taking up that part of the field. So I also thought that was a cool part of the game too. You just keep play around them until they can get off the field or they can start playing again.
It is a really televised as much as like football. I would watch that all day.
A few years ago, they put the 7 style rugby into the Olympics. It's the second most popular sport worldwide behind soccer. So it's just kind of slower here in the U.S. I think because we have football.
They did American play. Football. The U.S. Nationals played here at. BVA Park what's the soccer park where Dynamo plays?
Oh,
BVA?
Yeah.
Huh? BBVA. They played here in like 2012, 14, something like that. Which was pretty intense. That was fun to see.
Yeah. It's a fun game to watch.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known about it had it not been for my terrifying rugby friends.
It takes a while to learn the game. I can remember my second year playing, not realizing what all the hand signals and penalties were that the sir or the ref was saying. There's a lot, just rules we're not used to.
So what was the position you played called?
I was an outside center and a flanker. I probably played more flanker than outside center. So.
And did you get to tackle people a lot? Or
that was that's what that position's for. Is like they want you to be a fast person, but also a really good tackler. So I enjoyed doing that.
Fascinating. Also, no pads.
Right.
That's the other part
no
about
pads.
rugby.
There is one position that wears a little cap with a little bit of padding, but that's mostly for ear protection because that player gets their head sandwiched between two thighs in the scrum, and a lot of times that can after years of playing that'll create cauliflower ear.
No thanks. So you played rugby all throughout college, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course you're an Aggie, so I'm sure Trent loves you. Probably. There's a lot of.
What'd you study?
Wildlife and fisheries sciences.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
From that to police officer.
Yeah.
I went to school because I wanted to be a game warden. And I did become a game warden for New Mexico. And that's what you go to school to study generally if you want to go into that field. So
you knew going into college that you wanted to be a game warden, or how'd you figure that out?
I wanted to be outside, and that was the only job that I knew of as a high school student where you get to work outside. I like hiking and just everything outdoors, so I thought it would be a fun job.
Yeah.
It was a fun job.
So I totally stalked your Facebook profile, and I saw, or where did I see? Yeah, I did see that there. So you were a game warden in New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Any specific reason you like New Mexico, or just something different?
I found myself in New Mexico. Actually, I applied to be a game warden here in Texas, and I didn't get accepted right out of college, but I got an internship with the Forest Service, and that was in Washington State, right on the Canadian border. So I was a backcountry ranger there. It was beautiful, and my first time in real mountains. So I learned a lot there. I was a backcountry ranger and a wildlife biologist for them seasonally for a few years. And it's hard to get on full time with the Forest Service unless you have a master's degree or you're a veteran. It's pretty hard to get a full time job with them. Mm-hmm. So you have to be willing to move around and reapply seasonally for jobs for a long time before you can get a full time spot with them.
And that's a federal government position.
Yeah.
The Forest Service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a Department of Agriculture.
Right.
So I did that for a few years, and then felt like I kind of wanted to just get some more roots somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I went and worked one summer in New Mexico for a backpacking and expedition company out of Albuquerque.
Sweet.
And that was kind of in between my Forest Service biologist seasons. And when I decided I wanted something a little more permanent, I went back to New Mexico and became the assistant director for that expedition company. So I did that for a few years, and then they opened up some game warden spots in New Mexico and applied and got it.
That's
spot.
So the backcountry and biology work. What exactly were you doing back there? Were you like sleeping in a tent all the time and
yeah?
Fish
So
and stuff,
as a ranger, we would go on like 7 to 10 day loops, and it's just you and a partner. At the beginning of the season, you would go out with the long 7-foot crosscut saws with a partner, and you would go cut out some of the deadfall that had fallen over the winter. So you're opening up trails for the public.
Gotcha.
So we would do that at the beginning of the season, and then the rest of the season would be just you on a backpacking trip, just going into the wilderness areas, more remote areas, to be a presence for people if they need help or have questions. Sometimes we'd be logging campsite locations or, taking data for different things. For instance, they have outfitters that get permits for the Forest Service to take people on trips.
Yep. And
so one of the jobs was to go meet with those outfitters, talk to them, make sure they're following all the rules, and
that's amazing.
Document that for the Forest Service.
That's a different way of life.
It really is. I actually told people back home that when I got there, I was working out of this little mountain valley community, and those people just live differently up there. Everybody kind of works with the seasons. They hold multiple jobs throughout the year because it's kind of a tourist place, but really those people have lived there for a long time, and that's just how they know what life is. And I kind of fell in love with that idea. It just seems like a different world and a little bit closer, more pure, I guess. Yeah. In some ways than the way we live here, because you feel so isolated from everything that's going on in the news or political, whether that be good or bad. You just feel like, this is my world, and this is my community, and this is my valley, and they love it and want to protect it. And
well, and there's something about, to me, that simplicity and the adaptability that is a skill that has to be learned. And I think it's helpful, in a lot of ways. I think it's, as human beings, it's beneficial for us to be able to experience things like that. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't get to experience that.
And when you're living with the seasons like that, and the seasons are harder, you kind of lean on your neighbors and your community more. And I think it's just nice to have that, everybody, we need each other. Yeah. Type feeling in your own community. So you really feel it in places like that. Yeah.
I visited New Mexico forever ago, and we went to this place called Cloudcroft.
Yeah.
And that was wild because it's just like this little community up in the hill. And it's like, this feels so different than anything I've ever felt in America, right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
New Mexico's a cool place too. It's kind of like, you feel like you step back in time.
Yes.
In a lot of places there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it being a game warden there? Like, because I feel like I've never seen any like real traumatic stories with Texas game wardens, but I feel like those interactions have to be wild for them. Like, they're walking up on people mostly who are armed.
Yeah. Yeah. You can expect that.
And typically in the middle of nowhere. What was New Mexico like? Was it exciting or pretty, mundane? People follow the rules and stuff?
Some things were exciting. I really enjoyed doing the the wildlife stuff with the biologists out there, just because that's what I studied, and I just think wildlife is fascinating.
There's really cool wildlife out there too.
Yeah, a little bit of everything out there. One of the most fun things I got to do out there was fly in helicopter and use a net gun to trap elk that we would fly over. Fly over
How
these.
big of a net do you have to get to trap?
It looked like a Batman tool. I mean, we would fly low over these herds and single out a cow that was pregnant and shoot it with this net gun, and it would wrap her up, and she would basically just trip, and we would land the helicopter, jump out of the helicopter, and we had a vet with us that was inserting these little transmitters into her uterus because she was pregnant, and when they would sew her uterus shut so that transmitter would stay in there. And then when she gave birth, the transmitter would be dispelled with the calf, and it would start sending a signal. So then the biologist would know, okay, the calf was born here, and they would go collar the calves because they were having a issue with depredation of the elk herds out there, mainly the calves. So when the calf with the collar stopped, its location would stop moving, the biologist would go out again and find that location and see what killed it. And it was primarily bear.
Mountain lions.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, bears more than mountain lions.
Mm-hmm. And coyotes.
I don't know. I mean, I've had some encounters with bears, like fishing, and the game warden will come and scare them off and stuff. But I think I'd take a bear over a mountain lion any day of the week.
Yeah, I don't even like fighting with my 4-pound little cat at home. Can you imagine an 80-pound mountain lion?
They're terrifying animals.
Yeah, and you don't see them come in most of the time.
No, so. And they're becoming more of a problem in Texas too, and they'll eat a deer a week basically, so they can have a significant impact on wildlife. And they're just terrifying.
So that stuff I really enjoyed. A lot of it was mundane for me. That was kind of what ultimately made me. One of the reasons why I came back here. It was a lot of driving around in the mountains, which was beautiful and fun for some time, but we didn't have cell service, radio service was spotty, and I'm a pretty extroverted person, so driving around for 10 or 12 hours a day and talking to like 2 people
or yourself
or myself, I found that it wasn't for me. I wanted to do something more people oriented. So straight from New Mexico back to Pearland, is that what happened? Or yeah. I'm from here. Most of my family's here, and that was the main driving factor for me to come back home. I got married, and we just wanted to be closer to my family. Yep.
And like this job opened up, and then you came back, or
no? Actually, Pearland wasn't hiring at the time, so I went. I got a job with Precinct 4 in Harris County and worked with them for like 8 months until the next opening. Hiring. It was a very short stint over there.
That feels like a pretty common story. A lot of the employees that we talk to, I mean, we both. So I lived in Dallas. From here, moved to Dallas for 10 years. Joe lived in San Marcos and Austin. Families. In my case, grandparents getting older, stuff like that. They were about to have a kid, and everybody kind of makes the way back. Yep. Yeah. My joke is always like I made it as far north as Dallas, and then back. I really didn't make it.
It's good to get away, I think.
No, for sure.
About other communities and
it's I mean my dad, he lives now like 1.5 miles from where he grew up, and that's as far as he went. His business always been here, family's always been here, all that stuff, and so that was always. Moving far away never always felt uncomfortable to me. And we did it anyways, and it was a good experience, but
learned a lot about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And now I feel, more comfortable. Like we're here for now. I think the thing that I've started to learn is just everything kind of has a season, and when we lived in Dallas, all I wanted to do was move back because this is where I felt comfortable. This is where my family is, where all my best friends are, all of that. And I just love the Gulf Coast. But, now that we've been back, it's like, it kind of scratches the itch that I thought that I had. But at the same time, it's not what I envisioned it to be because that was a different time. Growing up here was different. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so in a way I did, but I mean, again, at the end of the day, we're here for now, do this thing, and who knows what's going to be next, So how long have you been back in town? You've been here?
We moved back in 2018, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, that's about time we moved back too.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah,
2020, yeah. So do you see yourself here? Are you going to retire from Pearland?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to be our next chief? Are you going to?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hopefully retire being a canine handler.
Really?
Yeah. I love it. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how beat up my body gets. But I love it right now.
So what is it about canines that you like so much?
Well, I've always loved animals, wildlife. I enjoy, so I worked on a few ranches too. I was an FFA. I did some horse packing too with the Forest Service too, which was probably my favorite part of the Forest Service. Oh, you asked me about projects too. So I talked about the backcountry ranger portion, but the real fun was working on a raptor project, a beaver project, and the Wolverine project.
Raptor?
Yeah, like falcons and hawks.
I was like, are there dinosaurs? Like, is there something we need to be worried about here?
Hey, they're kind of like dinosaurs. Birds are kind of like dinosaurs. Yeah. You ever watch a chicken walking around?
That's
tiny
true.
T-Rexes.
They do have the short arms.
Yeah.
I'll never look at a chicken to say that's great.
Okay, so falcons
and hawks.
Eagles, okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Birds of prey.
They're called raptors?
Raptors.
Huh. See, I didn't know that. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Did you learn that at A&M, or that's a thing you just knew?
No. I didn't know that. I've definitely learned it. If I learned it at A&M or when I started working in the Forest Service, I don't know.
So sorry, I got distracted. So you said raptors. What was the other
Beavers.
thing? Beavers.
And wolverines. Those were the
Wolverines.
Yes.
So those are just big wolves?
No, it's a carnivore. They weigh 20 to 30 pounds.
Okay, so small.
They're kind of like maybe you can imagine a badger, sort of, but it's a different species.
More like a dog? I'm learning so much about
they're
wildlife right
furry. They're kind of like a little bear.
Yeah, I was gonna
dog.
Say,
yeah, they're kind of hard to explain.
So,
but they're super cool animals. We don't know a whole lot about them. They are really successful in the wintertime, which most animals are going into hibernation. But they're very successful.
Yeah, it's like a bear cat.
Oh. Not what I was expecting.
Maybe that's where that term came from.
Huh.
So I went to Sam Houston, and we have Sammy the Bearcat. Isn't that the mascot's name? I forget what his name is. Anyways, look up a bearcat. They're a terrifying looking animal.
The Wolverines are. They are. So when you hear them in a trap, when you hear them in the trap, it sounds like you walking up to a dragon. I mean, they're they're successful because they're mean.
Trapped is probably. Did you trap raptors too?
Yeah, we were trapping and banding raptors, taking blood samples, and we were trapping all three of those.
So how do you trap a raptor
species? It's
raptor
pretty cool with a raptor trap. It's kind of complicated. So I'm going to see if I can paint the picture for you. Okay. So we're on the top of this mountain, and it's a little flat like meadow area. And we picked this site, and they've been doing this for years and years and years before I started on the project. But they picked this spot because it's on the flight migration path. So all birds that are migrating will fly that jet stream from North America to South America or wherever they're going, depending on the species. So we would have two spotters on another part of the mountain we could talk to with radios, and they would be on that little outcropping in the rocks watching the skies all day long, telling us what raptor is coming in, what type of species is coming in. And it's pretty fascinating that you can, when I went out there with them and they were telling me what they were seeing in the sky, it looked like a little tiny dot. I'm like, there's no way you can, how can you see what type of bird that is? But when you look at them long enough, you really can start to tell their silhouette shape and the way they're flying. You can determine what type of species
without spotting scopes or...
Yeah, just regular, like nice binoculars, but no spotting scopes. So they would tell us what was coming in, and we were at a different location sitting in the meadow in a deer blind, basically like a double-wide deer blind. And in the deer blind, there were several loops of P cord, just in string type cord that would go we could pull on it inside the blind, and it would run through our hands down onto the ground. We use these little insulators along the ground to keep the line going where we wanted it to go. And it would go to a little pigeon, starling, or house finch. And they had these little leather jackets that we made on with a key ring on the back of it. And that line would be tied to the key ring, and then it would go up a little pole that we put on the ground, and then back down the pole and back to us. So if you can imagine if you pulled one way on that loop, it would make the bird go up. It would go up the pole, and then it would flutter back down. If you pulled the other way, it would pull the bird to a little house on the ground that was basically like a little safe place for them to be. And depending on what raptor would come in, would determine which bird we would be basically puppeting for the bird. So
birds were alive?
Yes, they're alive. Yeah, we have, and they're all invasive species, so that's why we were using them for the raptors. And we had them in cages behind the blind. So if they, they would say this raptor's coming in, we would start puppeting that, whatever species.
To try to get it
the bait.
attracted.
Right?
So crazy.
So the raptor would fly in.
And then you club it. No, I'm just kidding.
And it would hit that pigeon, say, and they'll mantle over it. They'll hold their wings out over it like this and have the bird in their talons. And there were nets set up on the ground, little bow nets that were connected to another line, and we could pull that line and it would spring the net over the raptor, and we would run out of the blind and grab it, take it back, and do a bunch of measurements, take blood, and then
not at all how I imagined
release
it.
Yeah, it's kind of intricate.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Way more scientific than the time I caught an armadillo, but which I don't recommend that either.
Yeah, don't do that.
That is super, super fascinating.
It's fun.
Do you ever miss it, like with what you do now? Like you ever?
If I could have got a full-time job with him, I probably wouldn't have left.
Yeah,
because you could just do that every day.
I loved it up there. I loved the mountains. I loved that community. I loved the work. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
So I got to go back to the birds. So how, like, I mean, I guess there's got to be some technique in the bird that you're puppeting out there. Like, did you ever have higher success rates with certain callers were better with certain, drawing birds in?
There was definitely a little technique to it, to making them look like they're an injured bird, basically. And then you would
injured
have,
but not
you
dead,
would have
they won't.
Some of the bait birds were better than others. They were just, they would fly more, and the other ones wouldn't participate. And we did lose a couple of the bait birds, but surprisingly, we didn't lose too many.
That's fascinating.
And after they got hit by a raptor, they would be pretty stunned. So we would take them out of their little jacket and put them back in the cage for the day and get another one out. And use that one. We would go capture. The starlings came from apple orchards down in the valley. There was a bunch of, it's in the Cascades, so they grow a lot of fruit there. And the apple orchards had starling traps already set up because they're such a problem for them. So we would just go down.
Yeah, I guess, you got to catch your bait before you can actually catch the birds.
Yeah, fishing in the sky. Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
That's my favorite kind of, fishing. I've never caught birds. Alive. I
don't know who came up with this idea, but
for real,
wow,
that's a lot. But that's what we do all the time fishing. I mean, we go, throw a cast net or catch blue runners or something like that, and then use them to catch bigger fish.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense. That's fascinating.
So, keep you busy here at Pearland PD, but are there any volunteer things that you can do that still relates to that?
We have a bird sanctuary, right?
Yeah, I go run there. It's pretty cool. I like that place a lot. I haven't done any volunteer stuff other than just working with the PD type volunteer things.
I was just curious if there was still some connection there.
I talked to somebody the other day at the nature center here that said I think they said we had a breeding pair of horny toads. We're part of the program with Texas Parks.
At the nature
I think
center.
that's really cool because we have some property in South Texas, and it's been in my family for a long time, and I recently just saw the first horny toad that I've ever seen there.
Yeah.
Really?
And then
when
I learned that it's South San Antonio.
Divine?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm between Divine and Pleasanton.
There you go.
Some of the best bird hunting I've ever done.
Yeah, Coyote, Texas.
Huh.
Interesting.
Little town. I mean, it's a spot in the road. But anyway, I was excited to see him there because I haven't seen him there my whole life. And
yeah, so they sent Cullen to West Texas to trap some and bring him back as part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Program.
So you asked about volunteering, and I thought, I don't know, that'd be cool to
for sure.
help out. I should go in there. And
that's cool. Yeah, they have it right next to the building, the little housing for them outside. You can see it right from the fence. It's neat.
I'm sure they have plenty of, I would imagine they have volunteering opportunities over there.
Yeah, they always have. Every time I'm there, there's somebody doing something for them. So it's cool. Yeah.
They have alligators too. I don't know if you've been in the nature center, but pet alligators.
I've seen the signs, so I haven't seen any of the alligators.
Don't try to take their pictures. They don't like it.
No, they don't.
But no, they have alligators in the thing. They grow them.
Oh, I see.
And they have them on like consignment. I don't know what the word is, but they rotate a pair every 3 years or so. They have a lot of cool stuff over there.
They do. Yeah, they do.
One of the neat features in Pearland. And there's some stat about the islands over there. I forget how many species of birds, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Really?
There are, I forget how many, but it's a nesting ground over there. And Texas, generally speaking, is home to like 600 different species of birds, I feel like. I might have just made that up. I was looking up fun facts about Texas the other day. But I think there's like 900 worldwide different species of birds. I got to go look that stat up again because I'm just going to butcher it. Oh, y'all don't know? Okay, so it's 900.
There you go.
And 600 in Texas.
I trust you.
Yeah, we'll say that's right.
So we've talked about what you've done. So what do you do now here at Pearland?
With the dog.
Yep.
Yeah, so I just like animals, have loved animals in general my whole life, and I enjoy seeing them get joy out of work. And I think when we can use animals as tools for our job and they're domesticated and they also enjoy doing that job, it just that's what makes me really happy. So
isn't your dog trained to tackle people?
He can. Yeah. If I ask him to. Yeah.
But he gets joy out of it. So.
He does, yeah. I mean, it's
like you like tackling people.
That's right. Yeah, rugby.
I never thought about that.
No, so what is your dog designed to do, or what's the? Is he a scent dog, or what's your dog?
He's both. His name's Atos. He'll be 10 years old in August. Oh, wow. So he's an older guy now.
And he's a
German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois mix. Wow. And he detects explosives. So
oh wow.
Anything that you would use to create a bomb, he'll also detect weapons like firearms and then spent shell casings. You can find those too. And he's also an apprehension dog. So
somebody runs, you can let the dog loose and he'll bring him back to you. I mean, not bring him back. He'll stop him.
He'll stop him. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Sometimes he'll try to drag him back to you. Sometimes, but as long as they stop him, that's all we ask.
Sure.
And he'll repel too. From
right. We didn't even talk about that. Yeah. Okay. So if anybody out there in the listening audience hasn't seen, Officer Ehlinger did a training exercise. It was perfectly. It was a planned event where she rappelled with her dog over the side of our fire burn building. So tell us about that. First of all, how do you harness, how does that work? You climb up there with your dog and then you're like, get on this harness, we're going down.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. So some people ask, why would you ever even need to do that with your dog? And we probably won't ever have to do that for work, but
it's good to know you can.
Yeah, and it's good to test the dogs to see what they're, are they going to be comfortable getting over this fear? How much do they trust you to do what you're asking them to do? And it's just another, bonding experience, I think, with the dog too. He had never rappelled before. I have rappelled, but I've never rappelled with a dog before. That was my first time. And we were actually out there for canine training, and there was it was like a big ROTC event. There were a bunch of high school students out there rappelling from the burn building. And we just asked them, hey, when you guys are done, can we use the ropes that you all already have set up to do this with our dogs? Nice. And they said, yeah. So.
Wow. So what did how was he afterwards? Was he like, let's do it?
He was fine. That was awesome. He was fine.
Let's go tackle somebody.
Yeah.
That's one of the most interesting things I've ever seen Like that had never crossed my mind that, you could repel with a dog. But
yeah, I think, it's probably more applicable for SWAT teams or guys that are in the military. They probably have to do that more often than we do. But you never know. We might have to set up a rappel if there's a flooding situation or something, and we find ourselves looking for somebody in a house or on a roof, or you just never know. So I felt like it was good at least to see how the dog would react in that situation should we ever be presented with it. So. Yeah. Now I know he's going to be fine. He's not going to turn around and bite me because he's scared or,
Because there's probably nothing worse than hanging from a building and being bitten by your own dog.
I'm sure it's happened.
So he, as a canine handler, like he's your dog. He lives with you. Like y'all have.
He belongs to the city for now.
Right. Yeah. But he
does go home with me, and he's part of our family. He hangs out in the backyard. He's got a dog run on the side of our house. He has the whole side of our house, and then there's a kennel in the garage as well.
And do you have any other dogs or cats?
We have 2 border collies and a ferocious cat.
And they all get along or no?
Yeah, they all get along. One of the border collies really enjoys playing with him, and the other one can take him or leave him. She's kind of a loner.
Is he different at home than he is? Like when you put on your uniform, is it like time to go to work?
Oh yeah, if I let him inside when I'm getting dressed, he will step on the back of my feet. He'll smell my pants and know like, oh okay, we're going to work today, and he'll spin in circles, and I can't have him inside when I'm getting ready because it's too annoying. Yeah, he gets so excited. And most of the time he's just sitting in the back of the car driving around all day. I don't know what he's so excited about, but he's
in the back of the car,
he just loves it.
Yeah. My dog hates the truck. Hates it. Because every time I put him in there, I'm taking him to the vet. Right. So
that's probably why he hates it.
That's why, yeah.
And Atos, he never knows if is it a training day or are we going to go chase somebody or go find some.
So he probably gets, there is a lot of interaction, between training and actual, field work and stuff like that.
And that's not how it is for all the police departments. Some departments probably the bigger departments have designated kennel areas, and the officer will just go and get them at the beginning of their shift and leave them there at the end of their shift. But
do you think it makes a difference having them with you all the time?
I think so. Yeah, you could get more bonded to that dog.
Because he's a living thing. It seems like. And
they're pack animals, so they they want to be around other members of their pack.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you want to stay in PD? You want to stay in canine as long as possible? I can appreciate that. Yeah. We need to get a communications dog.
Let's do it. Yeah. Sounds good.
Just follow us around. But I want an old geriatric pit bull, I just want him to come into my office and just
match the mood of the team.
Yeah. Looks ferocious, but nah, he doesn't even have any teeth left. You're fine.
Just gum you to death.
Yeah. So what else have we learned? I have a question actually. When you so you came back here, how long were you gone from when you grew up here to coming back to work?
7.5 years.
How did you feel coming back? Was it this is home? Or
it was, and it's funny that I felt that way because coming home when I was away, when I'd come home for vacations and things like that, I would always think gosh, how can anybody live here? Why would you want to live here when you can live in places like the Cascades or Taos, New Mexico? And but it felt when I came back here, I was coming back for my family. I think at least for me as I got older, that became the more important thing than adventuring. So I was excited to be home and be close to my parents and my grandparents and brothers and cousins. And
you have a big family?
I think it's probably average size, but everybody's here for the most part. So
I always made the joke with my Dallas friends, my life was like a little Lifetime movie, put on my little suit and hop in my little truck and putt down to City Hall and go to my little city council meetings. But same sort of thing, everybody's within a stone's throw. And go over to my dad's house and the boys can shoot their bows with them, and it's quaint in a way. But I feel like Pearland too is in a lot of ways not the community that I grew up in. It's so much bigger now, and there are the elements that I see and feel that are that's Pearland, but it's so much more than it ever has been, which is really neat to see too. It makes me feel fortunate to work in a community like this too.
I do too. I think it's a great community. And we have a wonderful police department, and I'm proud to be an employee.
Ask the mayor. It's the best one in the state.
Ones, yep.
I believe it, too.
Same.
So we always like to close these with our sort of why exercise. I don't know if you've gotten to do that with us or not.
I don't think so.
But, I'm a firm believer that, the people that we work with, we're fortunate to get to know a lot of the 900 employees that work for the city. And I've yet to meet one of them that, isn't passionate about the work that they do and doesn't do this, does this job for a paycheck. You know what I mean? Like the people that work, especially in local government, I fundamentally believe are really cut from a different cloth. And have a servant's heart. And so we always like to ask people what their individual motivation is, like the thing that gets you up every day and makes you excited to put on a uniform and gets you up every single day, every new day going to work for Pearland. So what do you think your why is?
Right now it's having the dog. I'm still learning a whole lot about what it is to be a canine handler and how dogs think and why they behave the way they do. So going through that learning process and that's just exciting to me. I enjoy that. I feel like I learn something every week we're at training with them, and then every day it's so fun to see him become successful in something that we're working on together, and the funny thing about canine is there's always some problem to work on. And even if they're really good at this one thing, a month later, they'll start kind of falling back and not being really good at that anymore. And you have to build them back up. And so there's always something to work on, which I really enjoy. And the problem solving is fun with them. And to be able to go to work and just have the freedom to do that is really fun.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's an important, I mean, I always thought that I knew how to raise dogs. Turns out I don't. I'm not real good at it. My dog's a jerk. But, he's my dog, so it's fine. I'm not asking him to chase people down. Although he'd be good at it. But, I mean, it takes a very patient person, I think, and the right skill set and mindset to make that a reality. Because dogs are different. They're different breed
and they've got different personalities, too, just like
they 100%
we do.
Yeah.
And, before I became a canine handler, it was, I liked the variability with this job. You wake up and you never know what the day's going to hold, what problems you're going to face or help people through. And I really liked that.
Right.
Part of it.
No 2 days are alike around here.
No. That's for
true.
sure. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we want to thank you for coming on and taking the time to for us to annoy you with our silly questions and stupid jokes. So thank you for your patience. We appreciate that.
My pleasure.
There might be some editing on this one.
There's always that possibility.
Get that bad.
No. Right. That's it for this episode of the People of Pearland podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.